any news on a LavaBears PDF or book?
Oh yeah. So a lot of people have been asking us for some sort of version of LavaBears that you could have and take and run. And believe me, that's something that we really want to do.
There are two fundamental problems.
Yes. Why haven't we done that?
Okay. Fundamental problem number one, and this is the less serious problem.
Right.
Is I have not had a lot of time in the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
In that time, I've moved, gone back, quit my job, gone back to school, started a new position, and gotten accustomed to that, and then Desert Bus happened.
Mm.
So number one is I also put out a 10-page module for Extra Life.
Right.
So that has been significant in using up my time that I could be using to turn my LavaBears notes, which are extensive, into a published module. The second problem is more out of our control and more of a fundamental roadblock, and that is that the licensing for Dungeons & Dragons has been different over the years. When 3rd edition came out, they put out something called the Open Gaming License that allowed anyone to publish a D&D 3rd edition module, provided that they put this license in it and they didn't include certain things. They could say it was compatible with the system and they could put it out and they could use the game mechanics that were in that. Now you can't copyright a game mechanic, but this gave sort of just complete open use of those game mechanics. And so that existed for 3rd edition. With 4th edition, they had a much more restrictive license that said people could apply for it and then they could revoke that license at any time. So you could be selling a book and they could be like, oh, and 4th edition's going away, so we're revoking the license, which means if you have a warehouse full of books, you have to burn them.
Right.
People didn't like that license as much.
I wonder why.
So for 5th edition, there is presently no license. Now, Wizards has said multiple times that they are working on a license, but it has been in sort of, they've been finalizing it now for going on 2 years. And it's getting like, so ideally, if we were to release something, we would want to release it under that license because that would be the happy way to do it. Everyone, like, we're doing it above board, they're happy with it, we're happy with it, everyone's happy. There is no license.
So we are considering...
So there's a workaround.
Yeah.
And here is the workaround. I will explain how it works to you, and you can be the judge as to how legit it is.
All right.
So you can't copyright a game mechanic, and there's a lot of stuff that could seem proprietary in Dungeons & Dragons, like hit points, saving throws, armor class, like all this very specific terminology.
Just shout out to that $5 donation from XX420 YOLO Swagtivation XX.
Yeah.
Someone's been playing Destiny.
Thank you. Thank you, Twitch viewer.
Right?
Yeah.
It's got to be. It has to be someone from the Destiny Club.
Definitely.
Swagtivate.
Swagtivate.
So there's all this terminology that's used in D&D. Question mark as to like how legit it would be to use and like whether it falls under copyright. But that's all released for 3rd edition under the Open Gaming License. So publishers have been putting out books that are compatible with 5th edition and use only terminology that exists in 3rd edition, and putting it out under that license. That is something that we could consider doing. Now there are some writers.
Because if we want to do this, we want to do this. If we do it, we want to do this in like a book with art that looks really sweet.
Yes.
Which isn't going to happen overnight, even if we do decide to do this sort of
like. You know, even if we put it out for free, Wizards probably wouldn't care. But if we sell it, then we've got to figure out some way around the licensing issues.
Right.
And frankly, if we want to put awesome art in it, we have to sell it.
Yeah.
So that's basically where that is. So we can do the sneaky thing and try and get around the licensing issues that way, but it does impose some restrictions. We can't use certain spell names because they appear in 5th edition but not 3rd edition. We can't use certain ability names. It's unclear whether terminology like advantage as it applies to a role-playing game is something that they could consider trademarked. These things are all highly subjective, and so I would probably want legal advice.
Yeah.
Or at least to talk to some of the publishers who've already been released.
Zeke says, "Why not partner with WotC?" And a couple other people are like, "Don't you guys know people at WotC?"
We do. We absolutely do.
We do in the Magic department.
No, we know people in the D&D department too.
Me personally, the only person that I would no, there's a couple people.
Yeah. We know some folks who work on D&D, but I'm not sure that we are quite big enough game to be partnering with them. Is frankly my thought. But I mean, it is worth a shot. These are things that again are more complicated, but definitely worth some investigation. Anyway, that's a very long answer, but you know, it's something that is very difficult to explain over Twitter. So.